Hello, and welcome back to Talkin Tigers with Auburn TFC. I'm Chandler from Auburn TFC, and it's great to see you. It's good to see you. Thank you for tuning in to Talkin Tigers. I'm really excited to talk today. Today is a little bit going to be back to, the usual 20-minute, 15 to 20-minute video format. And I actually came up with a little interesting, conversation to have. So, real quick, I just want to say thank you. This is a full week into Talking Tigers. This is the 7th episode I've been doing every day since last Friday, and this is the first week we've done pretty well, and I'm really excited for it to get better. I see someone's in the chat. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in, and let's get started. So, to start, I wanted to bring up, quarterbacks have been a problem the past few years, but where do I think Byrum Brown will rank among the last 10 single season quarterbacks? And I made a little list, and I'll go 10 to 1, but at number 10 to 1, and I want to open this up for debate. I want to open this up for a chance for people to talk about it. Where do you think these are going to rank? What do you think of my rankings? So, number 10, I have 2023 Peyton Thorne. We went 6-7 that year. He had over 1,700 yards, 16 touchdowns with 10 interceptions. And this was the year where we lost to Maryland in that in our bowl game, and it wasn't a whole lot to be excited about that year. That was when I thought Hank Brown was gonna have a great year with us after that because of how well he did in that bowl game, but it just never was. And then at number 9, I have 2022 Robbie Ashford. He had 1,600 yards, 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions with 710 rushing yards and 7 rushing touchdowns. Now, he did only have about a 50% completion percentage, but, passing wasn't the best when it came to Robbie. But there were just, every now and then, you saw flashes. And, I really miss Robbie Ashford sometimes. And I wish it could have panned out because I was so bought into him. Like, I thought if he had stayed and you could develop him for a few years, he would be great. But, sadly, it never came to be. At number 8, I have 2025, this past year's Jackson Arnold. He had over 2,100 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, with 400 rushing yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. When it came to Jackson Arnold, you can't help but feel sorry for him sometimes. Like, there were definitely a lot of opportunities where he just completely overthrew the ball. He completely, just whiffed on passes, whiffed on plays, and was a reason why we lost a couple games. But you also kind of have to feel for him when it came to Hugh Freeze being a terrible coach. And, with that year, this could very well be upgraded to a top 5 season if, you just make some of those passes and win some of those games that we only lost by a single score. Number 7, I have 2016 Sean White. We went 8-5 that year, but he only had about 1,600 passing yards, 9 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Now, he did have a 63% completion percentage. This was an all-around decent year for Auburn football. Not terrible, not great. But, I enjoyed watching that year. That was the year that I started watching sports, so I don't really have a whole lot of fond memories about it when it comes to just what I actually remember. But from what I do remember, Sean White, he's solid. But at number 6, I have 2024 Peyton Thorne. Now, I was actually thinking of putting this top 5 because of his stats. However, when you have a 5-7 record, can't quite rank someone that high. But with that 5-7 record, he had over 2,700 passing yards, 21 touchdowns, 9 interceptions with 3 rushing touchdowns. And his completion percentage was 63.8. And, I think back to Jackson Arnold and Ashton Daniels. Sometimes I do think that Peyton Thorne could have done a lot better than he actually did when it comes to, if you gave Peyton Thorne the offense with Alex Golesh, he would have succeeded, I think. I just don't think he gives Peyton Thorne enough credit sometimes. But he's still in the same breath, he wasn't great. He made a lot of mistakes that, just shouldn't have been made with the experience that he had. And at number 5, you have 2021 Bo Nix. We went 6-7 this year. This was his last season with the Tigers. He had 2,294 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, three interceptions with 4 rushing touchdowns. And this was the year where you're under Harsin. You actually, you think, or this was under Harsin, and you think that things were going to just were going to get better. You'd think that things were going to get better at that point, but after that, it all just fell apart. You make your bowl game, congrats, you lose to Houston. So, not a whole lot to speak on that because it just was such an underwhelming year. At number 4, I have 2020 Bo Nix. He was in this shortened season. He went 6-5 but in this shortened season, he had 2,415 passing yards, 12 touchdowns, 7 interceptions with 7 rushing touchdowns. Now this was a little bit more polished, you could say, when it comes to his rushing game. But that 7 interceptions, that was one thing that Bo just could not shake off, was interceptions. But it still, within a shortened season, he had a lot more passing yards than he did in a full season. So it was good, and that's why you were so hopeful seeing Bo going into 21, and it just never panned out. And at top 3, I have Jarrett Stidham from his 2018 year. He went 8-5 with 2,794 passing yards, 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 1 rushing touchdown. Now, this is the last time we really, really had a pure pocket passer quarterback, and he did great. Jarrett Stidham is a quarterback that I will always look back on fondly. And, I actually kind of think this was a debate that I had with, not really a debate, this is an agreement that I have with Auburn Central on Twitter, which, if Jarrett Stidham had stayed for one more year for 2019, he had one more year eligibility, but he decided to leave. If he had stayed, what would that year look like? What would that year look like when it comes to the results? 2019, I'm about to talk about that, but you go 9-4, but if he sticks around, maybe we make the playoffs that year. Who knows? But still, this year, he had a great year. 2018 Jarrett Stidham coming in at number 3. Sorry. And then your number 2, and I actually mulled over this for a good bit, but I decided to go this direction, and I'll explain why in a second. So my number 2 spot is 2019 Bo Nix. We went 9-4 that year. We beat Bama in that incredible game with 48-45. Alabama had doinked the field goal and then had too many men on defense on the field to seal the game. So it was a fun game to watch, shootout. But this season was a overall fun season to watch. Bo Nix, he passed for over 2,500 yards. He had 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, with 313 rushing yards and 7 rushing touchdowns. And this is the really last. This was you keep having to start different quarterbacks. This is kind of when the parity in quarterback. Well, not when the parity quarterback started, but this was really the last time you said, "Hey, this is a franchise quarterback you have," or not franchise. This is your, kind of a franchise quarterback you have, and he was just exemplary. Like the other seasons, Bo was good, but we went 6-7 and 6-5. Here you go, 9-4. And the efficiency is not as good as his future years, but still, he was a freshman this year. And to do as good as he did, like that game-winning drive against Oregon, against Justin Herbert, 2019 Bo Nix will certainly hold his spot in Auburn lore for a long time. But at number 1, I don't think there's any doubt to this. is 2017 Jared Stidham. He went 10-4, was almost made Auburn the first ever two or three loss team to go into the 14 college football playoff. He passed for 3,158 passing yards, 18 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions, with 4 rushing touchdowns. This was the year you just have a great regular season, and then you go into the SEC championship game feeling good, feeling like that you are about to go to the college football playoff and potentially play for a national championship, in which you get blown out, in which you lose that game. In which you lose that game to Georgia, to the same team that you had dominated earlier in that year. But that's my list. That's my list of my top 10 quarterbacks of the past 10 years. Now, with that said, where do I think Byrum Brown will rank in the single season quarterback list? Byrum Brown has the opportunity to cement himself in easily the top 5 of this list. I see him finishing with over 2,400 passing yards, 800 rushing yards, 20 passing touchdowns, and 10 rushing touchdowns, along with 6 to 8 interceptions. And with an 8-4 record, like I've already predicted, this would put him, I'd say, at around number 3 or number 4. I'd say that this puts you in a position, and that's not even counting your bowl game. If you win your bowl game, that easily puts you at number 3. And I think that you've got a great situation with Byrum Brown right here. And just there's so many intangibles to go with it, with how young Tristan Tia is. What can he learn from Byrum Brown? And then what can this offense, this passing game that I've continuously talked about, what can it do? What is this defense that I've gone into? I've gone into all the parts of this team and how they can all be good. And if everything pans out, 8-4 is certainly possible, and maybe even more. But that's my list, and that is my prediction. I think Byrum Brown will pass for over 2,400 yards, 800 rushing yards, 20 passing touchdowns, and 10 rushing touchdowns, notching him over 3,200 overall yards and over 30 touchdowns. Now, moving on, I wanted to touch on something that I've kind of been sitting on for a little bit, and this is pretty interesting. So I think this was like a week or two ago. Brad Crawford of CBS Sports recently at that time he had shared his predictions for Auburn's upcoming season, and he expected us to earn a Gasparilla Bowl bid with a 7-5 record. And I just wanted to compare his record predictions to mine. So real quick, when we run back what mine were, I think we go 5-0 in our first 5 games, go on a 3-game skid against Georgia, Ole Miss, and LSU. And then we pick it back up with Mississippi State, Arkansas, and Samford, and then we lose to Alabama. Now, Brad Crawford has us going 5-0, exactly like how I had. However, he does have us losing to Georgia, LSU, and then Ole Miss. However, he does have us beating Arkansas, but then he has us losing to Mississippi State. Going on that game, if you're not familiar, we will be going into Starkville, Mississippi to take on the Mississippi State Bulldogs. And I just don't see where there's a world where we lose to Mississippi State. I mean, yeah, 7-5 is still a great projected record for a first year, and go to a Gasparilla Bowl. I mean, go to any bowl would be good. But it's puzzling to me because I just don't think there's a world where we lose to Mississippi State in that game. I don't think that that with the experience that you have on this roster and the potential you have on this roster, you can lose to a team like Mississippi State. I mean, Kamario Taylor is good, but he's not a world record. He's not going to beat this defense that we have, who has been made to stop quarterbacks like him, who are mobile. I just don't think that's going to be something that can happen. But real quick, I do just want to take a moment to thank my sponsor, Barner Supply. This hat is one of my favorite hats that I own. And one problem that I have with hats is the top of these hats hurt whenever I wear headphones. And I wear headphones with hats a lot when I'm working outside, I'm streaming, or I'm sometimes even just around the house. I'm a big hat guy. However, the thing on top hurts my head sometimes with hats with headphones. Like, I have a couple hats right here. I have this Birmingham Stallions one that I've mentioned. It does hurt, and this one it doesn't hurt, but it's uncomfortable. But then I have a hat like this one where it's comfortable, but it's not sturdy. Which all those things that, like, one of them's comfortable and one of them's comfortable but it's not sturdy. One of them is just not comfortable at all. One of them's sturdy but it's not comfortable. What am I going to do? Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to barnesupply.com and pick up one of their hats as soon as I can. So that is why I love these hats, because they're comfortable, they're sleek, and they're durable too. And if you're someone who works outside like I do a lot, mesh back, and if you're let's say you're riding a four-wheeler, or you're doing an activity like I am I'll be a Division III college athlete this year, and I wear a hat, and I'll be on a track team where I throw. And one thing that I do is I have to wear hats when I throw. And when I'm throwing discus, my hats are just going to get flown off of me. Not this one. These are tight. They can be as tight as you want to be or as loose as you want to be. And as someone with a big head, like, this hat is on the last two notches. This hat is on the last on the last three. But this one right here is on the last 4 to 3. I can change it because sometimes I need a tighter hat. I can put it to 4. Most of the time I have to wear hats to the last notch or the last 2. That is why I love Barner Supply. That is why I love their products. And that is why I will go to barnersupply.com for all of my barney needs, and I think you should too. And with that said, another episode is done. I thank all of you for watching. I'm having so much fun with this, and it just feels good to finally, branch out in my love for sports media. Drop a like, subscribe, and go follow the Twitch, link in bio. Go follow me on all these platforms that I have on the screen, and all of you have a great rest of your day. War Damn TFC.